popping out there in the YouTube world. Got this big plate right now, son. See what they did earlier, man? They just shut my live down, son. Joint just crashed. Your phone ain't even crashed. It's like joint just bugged out. You already know what it is, man. Another day, another simulation. Waiting to be simulated. Doing a quick little video sound while I bust this grub down. I mean, yeah. What is beyond sense? I don't know, most people gonna hear that. They're gonna be like, yo. The hell this guy talking about, son? But you know this channel ain't for most people, son. The channel is for the real deal. What is beyond sense? Because you know we have been trained to see sense as if something doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense, and if it doesn't make sense, what the hell are you talking about? That's how, you know, people have been trained to see sense, or in other words, senses would be the definitive motif that represents a foundation where things can be identified. And that's somewhat, you know what I mean? That's somewhat what it is, but you know, it's all about going beyond. Beyond senses. Damn, that cayenne, not the cayenne, hold on for a second. That African bird pepper. Woo! I drunk one in the throat, the nose, everything. Pepper strong as hell, boy. But yeah. You know, things don't add up. You know, people be like, well, you know, that don't make any sense. And, you know, the reality is, man, everything adds up. Everything. It don't matter what it is. It adds up. See, when you're able to go beyond sense, meaning reality, because reality is beyond sense. You know what I mean? Reality is beyond sense. So when you're able to go beyond sense, because sense is something that is it's sort of like tailor made for the illusion. You know what I mean? It's like these experiences that people be having on the planet is like a mental tailor is just configuring a well fitted outfit, which would be a perception that people can wear. You know what I mean? So it's like this the senses is tailor made to represent the reality and vice versa. But when you're able to go beyond the senses, you know what I'm saying? When you're able to go to reality, because reality is beyond the sense, beyond senses. When you're able to go beyond that, you will realize that everything adds up. Everything adds up. Now I know certain people will be like, how could everything add up? Like there's things out there that doesn't make any sense. See, people, speak the language. I speak the language, but when you're saying things doesn't make any sense, there's times I say that just to speak the language, but when you go behind speaking the language, you see that there is no such thing as something not making sense or something not adding up. You know what I mean? There is no such thing as that. Everything makes sense, everything adds up, and you are able to go beyond the senses. Now, someone might give an example that has to do with a certain situation that they would identify as not making sense based upon the situation and how the situation is possibly making them feel or how they perceive the situation. I'm here to say that it does make sense, because when you are looking at things that doesn't make sense, instead of you looking for it to make sense, take the term or the phrase, I'm trying to make sense out of this. Get rid of that and put what I am witnessing is results. Take that phrase out. I'm trying to make sense out of this. Get rid of that and replace it with I am witnessing results. And you understand that everything, but we're going to focus on the so-called things not making sense. When you are able to understand that what you are seeing is results, you would understand that it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. You know what I mean? You're going to be looking at it like, the hell is this person doing? What the hell is that person doing? Like, how could you even do that? Why would anybody even think about doing that? There's times, I speak the language saying that. But when you're able to go past all of that, you see that you're looking at results because, as I stated before, social media is not an experiment. Social media is results of an ongoing experiment. I stated before in past videos that an experience is an experiment. That's why you look at the word experience and experiment, it's the same damn thing. You know what I mean? You're experiencing a mental dictatorship, whether it be a dictatorship or a certain culturalized way of living, certain terms and conditions that people subscribe to. You know what I mean? When you are moving on those wave bands, and there's many more, but that's just an example. When you're moving on those wave bands, you are now experiencing, pardon me, the experiment. In other words, the experiment would be thoughts that is being utilized to create a foundation that you charter through that one calls an experience. But if the experiment meant mind mentor, if the experiment meaning the ideas coming together to create whatever theme, simulation, what I'm saying, whatever terms and conditions coming together to create, if that never came together to create it, there would be no experience. In other words, the experience is the results of the experiment. All of your experiences is nothing more than results of an experiment. Because you cannot have an experience without an experiment. You know what I mean? An experiment has to take. Now, I know we've been trained to see experiments as well. Some scientist up in the lab with a white coat, and he got a bunch of plastic mini plates on the table that they call a petri dish. You know what I'm saying? Like he got some Smurfs somewhere in the damn corner, and he's preparing supper for them or something. They got these little plastic plates. These midget plastic plates that these midgets be eating out of petri dish. You know what I'm saying? You got this little apparatus that holds about 15 vials, and it's just spinning around like a damn Ferris wheel. And you got this computer over here and this machine there, and you beep, 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 beep. Up somebody on a table with wires and leads and freaking UV conduits coming out of their veins and all that. Got some weird helmet on their head. I mean, we've been trained to see that as an experiment. You know what I mean? We've been trained to see that as an experiment. But you gotta know that's just one description of an experiment. You know what I mean? Because the person in the lab that so-called doing the experiments, they not really doing no experiments, man. The doctor up in the lab looking through they call them the microscopes. They up on the computer typing in all these molecular formulas and things of that nature, and they dissecting this and dissecting, doing all these so-called analysis. They're not really experimenting, son. They're not really experimenting. What they are really doing is having an experience. You know what I mean? The ones who's really doing the experiment is the ones who created the facility that these doctors, scientists, whatever goes in. Just to give an example, based upon how they train us to see an experiment. You know what I'm saying? In other words, the builders will be the ones who's experimenting, and the ones who move about in the experiment, whether that be land, mass, territories, businesses, things of that nature, They are the ones having the experience inside the experiment. In other words, the higher Masons are the ones who created the church. You know what I mean? They created the church. It don't matter if it's a damn Seventh-day Adventist or if it's a mosque. They created the church. So when they created the church, that was the experiment. You know what I mean? Now, when you have the people participate by way of going into the church, they are now experiencing the experiment. You know what I mean? They now experiencing the experiment. So we've been trained to see an experiment as with the labs and all this and all that, but that's the experience. So when you're looking at things that so-called doesn't make sense, like when you're seeing people do certain things, behave a certain way, and you say, and it's something that I stated before, like, wow, if somebody do this and do that, I'm speaking the language, son, but I'm able to, just go beyond that and see for what it is. I know exactly what it is, but when you see people do, like when you see, they got this lunar virus falsely identified as a coronavirus going around. They had this clip on Facebook with this guy taking his mask off, and I think he was licking the pole in the train. You know what I mean? Licking the pole in the train. Now people will see that and they'll be like, yo, here it is, a damn virus going around killing people, and the virus is spreading in the train, and you got this guy sitting up here licking a damn handrail that people supposed to hold on to in the damn train. You people will say, why the hell is he doing that? Like, he's crazy. No, he's not. What you are looking at, and people will say that doesn't make sense. Actually, that makes perfect sense. Why? Because the experiment is something that comes before the experience. So what you are witnessing is results of the experiment, which is what they call an experience. Switch the word experience with results of an experiment, and it will make way more sense. You will start seeing things how it's meant to be seen. No matter how crazy or absurd it is. Because you got to know that these people behaviorisms are triggered by programs. You got to notice these people behaviorisms are triggered by programs. So if you're looking at somebody doing something and you like, yo, that don't make no damn sense, just know that you are just witnessing results of an experiment, because a switch just been triggered for that person to simulate whatever that they're doing. You know what I mean? So in order for you to go beyond senses, and there's times you could break, because there's plenty of times I say certain things, break certain things up. People look at me, or they be like, yo, that don't make no sense. What you talking about? That don't make no sense. And there's plenty of times I ask them, like, okay, if it doesn't make sense, tell me exactly what I said doesn't make sense, and then give me a, a broader foundation, which would actually, reveal that what I said make no sense. I don't actually say it like that, but I'm just summing it up. You know what I'm saying? If it don't, in other words, if it don't make sense, If somebody says something to you and you say immediately it doesn't make sense, that means you already have um a damn solution or a higher depiction in your head. You already got it in your head. You know what I'm saying? For you to say it don't make sense, that means you already have something in your head that's going to reveal why it doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? So if somebody asks you, well, if it doesn't make sense as you claim it doesn't, explain it to me. And if they hesitate, they was simulating, they was running a program. You know what I mean? It's like me asking somebody, what is 3 plus 3? And they like, and I'm like, who got the answer for 3 plus 3? And somebody in the corner raised their hand. Oh, I got the answer. I got the answer. Switch. I got the answer. I got the answer with. That doesn't make sense. I got the answer. I got the answer. Oh, okay. You got the answer. What's the answer? Um, what happened? You said you got the answer. Why are you hesitating? You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with if you're saying that it doesn't make sense, and I'm asking you to explain why it doesn't make sense, and you hesitating, then what are you really doing? You see, you have things that doesn't make sense to clones. And when I say it doesn't make sense, it doesn't mean that there's a brick wall in the revealing or breaking up whatever it is deemed to be not making sense. It doesn't mean that at all. You see, the clones, they have limits in their computational powers. You know what I'm saying? They can't process like how the guard race could process. So you will hear them say things like it doesn't make sense. But when they say it like that, it's only because they don't have the brain power or the brain vibration to actually figure things out. The humans can't figure nothing out. They can't. What the humans do is retrieve stored data from the brain, and when they speak it out by way of having a conversation, questionnaire and all that, ask somebody questions or whatever, they answer questions. It's like they're not really answering a question or figuring anything out. What they are doing is just retrieving stored data from the brain and speaking it. You know what I'm saying? That's what they really doing. It's stored data that they previously recorded in the brain and they speak it out. There's times when they cannot retrieve the data and they would say things like, I forgot. I forgot it. I forgot what I was gonna say, or I forgot this, I forgot that. Now that doesn't mean that the data is not there. It just means that there's latencies and bottlenecking and glitches going on in the brain. The organic motherboard. So they have problems retrieving the data. You know what I'm saying? Humans retrieve data. They don't figure anything out. Everything they ever got hit to was data that was pre-stored. You know what I mean? Data that was pre-stored. Everything is basically everything that they got hip to. They're not coming up with nothing. They're not figuring nothing out. Because they're robots. Like I stated before. But you would hear them say things like, that doesn't make any sense. That's only because there's a void within their sensory network, which have to do with them retrieving and storing data. All of the human senses have to do with retrieving and storing data. If you say something that they never heard before, I'm not talking about things that they heard and they can respond to it by way of retrieving the pre-recorded data that was saved in storage in their brain and then speak it out. I'm not talking about that. Those instances, you would hear them say things like, I forgot, or it's at the tip of my tongue, or it was just in my head and I can't get it right now. Don't worry about it, it'll come back. You know what I mean? They can't retrieve the data. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about when they say things like, that doesn't make sense. That's only because their senses hasn't came across. It could mean this. Their senses haven't came across the ability to retrieve it and store it. But when you take it beyond their senses, because their senses have a radar, like a radius. There's certain things that the human senses can only pick up. And then there's things that the human senses cannot pick up. You know what I mean? So when you take it beyond their antenna capabilities, they would say that it doesn't make sense. Because you now went beyond their sensory network. You know what I mean? If the beast was to duplicate, say you was talking about a certain portion of reality, and the beast, they'll be like, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like, I spoke about the sun being a real planet. It's a stargate to the etheric realms. It actually takes you into the real, what they would call the universe, which is the etheric realms, where all celestial bodies of suns is real. It was never created. The universe was created. Now, I'll say something like that to somebody. They would be like, that doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? But if the beast was to replicate that in some sci-fi movie where they have it, where, these people from Earth get in this spaceship and they have to go to the sun to save the universe. You know what I mean? They was to see that in a movie, and if I was to say it, they would be like, oh, you talking about that movie? Okay, yeah. It would make sense to them now. You know what I'm saying? It would make sense. You know what I'm saying? But you got to keep in mind to what I stated before about the making sense. You know what I mean? It's results. So if I would have said it to somebody who never heard nothing like that before, they wouldn't be able to think. You know what I mean? Because in certain situations, when you're thinking, you are actually opening channels to tap into other realities or other dimensions. Dimensions are not realities. Dimensions are artificial realities. You know what I mean? The dimensions are artificial realities. I'm being clear with the dimensions now. Dimensions are artificial realities. The realities are real. But when you're thinking, you are actually tapping in to realities. You know what I mean? When the humans do it, they tap into dimensions. But those dimensions have to be created. In other words, if you say something to a human, like if a carbon man was to say something to a human that the carbon man pulled down from reality, if that reality wasn't duplicated down here in the matrix, the human would say, that doesn't make any sense, what you're talking about. But if the beast was to replicate that by way of a movie, TV show, you know what I mean? Then they would be like, it makes sense to them. You know what I mean? Because it would be like somewhat relative. Even though it's an illusion, delusional relative, but it's just that they have when you saying it to them, for instance, let me give this example. I talk about going the sun going to the etheric realms. Now, if the beast was to make a movie like that, they would be like, what I'm talking about makes sense. Only because when I'm saying it to them, they thinking, and while they thinking, they tapping in to that dimension that was created. When the beats create these movies, those are dimensions that's being created. All dimensions is artificial realities. All of it. All dimensions is fake. You know what I mean? So when I could be talking about the etheric realms, and the person would not be able to literally see the etheric realms how I'm seeing it, because I'm tapping straight into the real channel. They would only be able to see it how they saw it on a movie screen. So when I'm talking to them, they would be thinking about what I'm saying, but the images that they would get would be from the movie. So they would be like, "Oh, it makes sense, yeah. I hear what you're saying." Only because the beast created that dimension. You know what I'm saying? When the humans think, they tap in to dimensions, which is artificial realities. If those dimensions are not created, and it's not like all the humans could tap into all the dimensions that was created, because they can't even do that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm speaking about the ones who could, tap in certain dimensions. So when the humans are thinking, they are tapping into artificial realities. It has to be created by the beast, and they have to experience it. You know what I mean? And the experience will be the results of the experiment. So when they speaking about whatever it is that they speaking about that they claim is relative, that's nothing but results of the experiment. Because all dimensions are experiments. All of it. There isn't one dimension that exists out here in this universe that is not an experiment. When the participants go in to that dimension, they assume that they are living or having an experience in that dimension. But the ones who created that dimension know that everything you do is just results of the experiment. So that's why everything makes sense. The only way you're going to be able to get this is if you go beyond positive and negative polarity. You got to be able to tap out of the artificial spectrum of light, which is electricity, and tap into the realm of the real of the souls. when you're able to go beyond the positive and negative, you see that everything makes sense. It makes sense why Jesus doesn't kill the devil and the devil doesn't kill Jesus. Somebody who's having the experience, being in the experiment of religion, would say, why the hell does God doesn't just kill? And there's times I stated that, speaking the language. But somebody who's caught up in, what I'm saying, things not making sense would say, why in the hell doesn't just Jesus just kill the devil or the devil just kill Jesus? Like, what the hell is the holdup? You'd be like, it doesn't make any sense. You don't understand. Your senses are tailor-made for the experience. In other words, how your senses perceive the reality, or not even the reality, how your senses perceive the dimension that you're in is supposed to be exactly like that. Because why? It's results. Your senses, the way how your senses perceive a reality, the way how your senses perceive dimensions is results. You're not really perceiving anything. Those senses was given to you and you don't even know it. You don't even know it. You don't even know every dimension that you go into. The senses, that the utilization of the senses based upon how you perceive that dimension, it was already given to you. You know what I mean? But when you go beyond senses, you see that. You see that. You see that you are participating in a experiment that they call an experience or life. You are a subject and you cannot perceive that because that's not part of the experiment. This is like, it's not like somebody obvious on a damn table with this weird helmet on their head and you got these doctors hovering over them with these clipboards and they sitting up there talking, and you know what I'm saying, and they got all these leads coming in and out of this person. Like, that person on that table, they know they are subject. they making it obvious. You know what I'm saying? But just as I stated before in past videos, when you look at these zombie shows, like when you look at a show like The Walking Dead or Z Nation, you know what I'm saying, which is ZNA, is a higher blood vibration than DNA. I spoke about that in past videos. You be looking at that Z Nation is all encrypted, man, to the evolution of the DNA, the ZNA. Check the archives. When you're looking at TV shows like ZNA and you're looking at these movies out here when they got these damn zombies just running around, just chasing people down and just biting their face off, biting their arms, their chest. Is just, they just eating. You know what I mean? They eat, get up, drift off, and just go eat the next one. When you're looking at those zombies, what you are actually looking at is a virus that has been anthropomorphized. You're not really looking at a zombie, but because you're in the experiment, the foundation has already been created for your senses to perceive it that way. Like I said earlier, your senses is like the experiment is like a mental tailor, a sensory mental tailor who tailor makes your senses to fit the experiment. So you looking at the zombie movie, you seeing these zombies running around. You don't know that you're in the dimension. That dimension was created in it. So now your senses has already been tailor made to perceive the experiment how they want you to perceive it. You looking at it like it's an experience I'm just having. No, it's results. So you think you're looking at a zombie movie with a guy running around, girl running around, they just running around killing people and biting the kids. The kid turned into a zombie, bite the dog, damn dog turned into a zombie, bite the fish turned into a freaking zombie. Everything turned into a zombie. You don't know that you're looking at a virus that is a flesh eating virus. A lot of these zombie movies are flesh eating virus that's anthropomorphized. You know what I mean? That's how they secretly do rituals to get viruses manifested. All this time you thought you was watching a zombie movie, not knowing that you was watching a ritual which has to do with a virus manifesting. I spoke about anthropomorphism in past videos. You know what I mean? SpongeBob, Jesus Christ, Batman. When you look at Batman, that's the moon anthropomorphized. You know what I mean? So you're looking at, and notice zombie movies are extremely popular on a planetary scale. You don't think this lunar virus, falsely identified as a coronavirus, is a manifestation of these Walking Dead movie types, of these Walking Dead TV shows? Hell yeah, it is. It was never a zombie. It was always a virus. Because look at the nature of the zombie. The zombie cannot be contained. It drifts throughout the land looking to feed. Now let me translate that in viruses terms so you can see what it is. The virus, airborne, moves with the wind as the zombie moves with the energy. The virus is looking for a host, just like the zombie is looking for a host. But they switched the host with food. Same thing for the virus. When the virus is looking for a host, it's looking for food, it's looking to feast. If the zombies don't eat, the zombies die. They'll just drop dead in the woods wherever they at. They will drop dead if they don't eat. You know what I mean? Even though they already dead, but they would drop dead if they don't eat. If the virus doesn't get a host in time, it dies. They'll be like, well, there's a virus that's out there in the air, and the lifespan of the virus is only a week or 2 weeks, 3 months, whatever it is. Then it dies. You know what I'm saying? But when the virus is in your body now, it can live. So when the virus is in your body living, look at that as the zombie constantly eating victims. You know what I mean? Straight up. People will look at that and say, that doesn't make sense. Hell yeah, it makes sense. because you're looking at results. Everything makes sense. There is nothing that's not happening on this planet that doesn't make sense. Everything makes sense. Then you are able to go beyond the polarities, which is a confused vibration. Because once you remain, once you allow your mental powers, speaking of language when I say mental powers, once you allow your mental powers to remain in a artificial energy makeup, you now have that experiment or that mental sensory tailor make a perfect perception hat for you to wear. You know what I mean? That moon over your head. The moon blocking out the sun on your damn head. The moon blocking out the etheric think tank over your head. They made a perfect mental sensory perception hat for you to wear. So however your senses perceive the dimension that you're in. Now I know we have also been trained to see dimensions as, well, you got somebody, they about to get in this spaceship and go through this portal. And then you see all this flashing lights and all these colors. And then, well, that's a dimension. Or they going into this realm where everything looks all fuzzy wuzzy and you see in all these lights and all this haze and all these holograms. Well, that's a dimension. Yeah. But everything is a all parts of the illusion is dimensions. For instance, you go outside, that's a dimension. When you go into a corner store, that's a dimension. When you go into a supermarket, that's a dimension. When you get into a car, bus, train, or plane, that's a dimension. You get on a bike, that's a dimension. Those are all different dimensions. And all those dimensions have perceptions or sensory perceptional a mental cap that has already been pre-configured for you. You're not perceiving reality. Because if you was to perceive reality, you will be able to identify the illusion for what it is. You know what I mean? These people are not perceiving reality down here. They are one with the matrix. They one with the matrix. One with the illusion, one with the matrix. You know what I mean? The experiment is the experience. Experience results of the experiment. The way how you perceive or the way how you behave in the dimension, which is what you will call the experience, is nothing more than results. That's exactly how you're supposed to behave, because your senses have been hijacked. You're supposed to behave that way. So when you see somebody walking down the street, remixing their armpits, constantly scratching, remixing their armpits, smoking Y2K, getting a Harlem shake on a corner. You look at it and people will be like, how in the hell could somebody do that? That don't make any sense. It makes perfect sense because you're looking at results. What you are looking at is somebody occupying a specific dimension, but you can't see it like that because you also are in a dimension. You're in a dimension that's perceiving another dimension exactly how you're supposed to perceive it. And based upon how you perceive when you see somebody smoking a Y2K, getting their Harlem Shake on, remixing their armpits, you be like, damn, how in the hell can somebody do that, man? That's crazy, man. I would never be doing that. The way how you perceive that is exactly how you're supposed to perceive it, but your perception is not on a level that's making you actually identify the obvious. You know what I mean? Because y'all both in dimensions that was created by somebody else. Your perception of the person remixing their armpits, getting the Harlem Shake on for smoking the Y2K is nothing but results of how you perceive dimensions from your dimension. You know what I mean? And the person over there doing their drugs, scratching their ass off, that's results of them occupying that dimension. You know what I mean? Straight up. You have dimensions that cross over dimensions, move through dimensions, move around in dimensions. You can't look at it how they program you to see dimensions. Well, this is one realm and there's only one dimension in this realm that we in here. And then when people die or come out the body, they go far, far, far away to another dimension. Nah. They still in a dimension that's like another layer in this dimension. It's layers. You know what I mean? Layers. The dimensions is here. And it's all created. All dimensions are artificial. All of it. Dimensions are artificial realities. All of them are simulations. And every time, see, this is something that we knew once upon a time. We knew that whenever we was coming out of the etheric realms, we was going into a dimension. And it was all an illusion. You know what I mean? But as I stated before in past videos, eons ago, son, the God race lost their connection with reality. They lost it. They no longer know what reality is. Once you lose your connection with reality, you are lost in the matrix. They are so far gone in the realm of illusion that they actually assume that because something exists, it is real. You know they gone. You know they lost. You know they lost. We always knew that just because it exists doesn't mean that it's real. Because things that exist is elements of an experiment. Straight up. Everything that exists is elements of an experiment. You know what I'm saying? Reality is beyond existence. It's beyond existence. Reality is beyond existence. So when you're looking at something like a car, I could say to somebody like, yo, that car ain't real. Everybody like, how that, what you talking about? The car ain't real. It's right there. It exists. That's how you know they lost connection with reality, because they assume because it's there and it exists that it's real. But if they knew that things that are real was never created, then they would be able to identify the illusion more keenly. They wouldn't be lost in the source. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be lost in the source. Your perception is results of an experiment. Can you go beyond senses? That's the question. Can you go beyond sense? When you go beyond senses, you know that everything makes sense because it's all results. It don't matter if it's so-called negative results or so-called positive results. It's results. You know what I mean? It's results of an ongoing experiment. The thing is to make people assume that they can actually change the experiment. Not at all. Not at all. You have to understand what the experiment is. Now you can, with a guard face, you can create another dimension over a previous dimension. The beasts do it all the damn time. Don't focus on changing the dimension or changing your so-called reality or changing your so-called life. Don't focus on that. Focus on building on top of the dead. It makes more sense. It makes sense now, son. You know what I mean? That dimension is there to serve a purpose based upon those who are the subjects, which are the ones who's having the experience. It ain't meant for you to change that dimension. Build a new dimension on top of that one. Because that dimension that the beast created was built on another dimension. These people have been building dimensions, man. Pardon me. These people have been building dimensions. And they're keeping certain people having these experiences in these dimensions. The dimensional builders. Build around. You know what I mean? Souls could do that. You know what I mean? So what is beyond sense or beyond senses? Reality, man. The human sensory network scans on the positive and negative output, meaning that they can only pick up vibrations that's artificial. That's all they could pick up. There's times when you talk to a human And you could be describing things that's real, and you could tether those images to them. They won't see it exactly how you see it, but you could tether the images to them. You know what I mean? Straight up. When the God rays speak, hold on. When the God rays speak, there's images encoded in those vibrations. When the humans speak, it's static. A lot of the times the humans speak is static, which is retrieved data. That's why you could ask them to elaborate or break down what they said. And if they don't have the stored data in their brain, you will hear them say things like, I can't explain it, but I know what it is. No, you don't. No, you do not. There's no such thing as you actually knowing something but cannot explain it. That doesn't make any damn sense. You don't know what it is. That's why you cannot explain it, because you cannot retrieve, or the data wasn't stored in your brain. A way of reading a book, watching a movie, coming across somebody, you have to have some kind of interaction to absorb that data. You know what I mean? For the humans, you have to have some kind of interaction to absorb data. How in the hell you know what it is, but you can't explain it? You can't put it into words. It's static. That's what I'm saying. When they talk, it's static. You pay attention, it's static in between the vibrations of their speech. But when the God rays speak, it's images in that. Images in it. So you could tether images to humans. I mean, that's why, and it's still going on till this day, you would always see a bunch of humans gather around whenever a carbon man or a carbon woman have something to say, whether it be in a story form, they saying something, doing comedy, whatever it is. They all gather around because they want to tether those images. They want to tether it, man. Straight up. The humans try to clone, or try to clone. They ain't gonna say try to clone. They are cloning. That's all they do is clone. Copy. They are a copycat species, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, humans are a copycat species. They're like, that's what a clone is, to copycat. That's why I stated a long time ago, it was never about uplifting fallen humanity. When you tap into the realm of reality, you know exactly what humanity is, son. You know exactly what it is, son. And you know exactly who you are simultaneously. You gotta raise the vibe, man. You gotta raise that vibe, bro. And son, I've been eating for an hour. What's going on? Chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Yeah, man. So just know that what the experiment is, I mean, basically a group of people formulating ideas to create an experience. The experience will be the foundation, the floor, the board, the cube, whatever they want to call it, standing on your square. That would be the experience. Um, and when you have people participate in the experience, they are actually results of the experiment, which is what they call an experience. And that's happening on a planetary level. Planetary levels, huh? But when you're able to go beyond the senses, you see it makes sense. It makes sense. It makes sense why somebody would wear a mask on, scared that they're gonna get hit with some virus. But then at the end of the block, they pull a mask down and light up a cigarette. It makes sense because you're looking at a dimension. You're looking at somebody give you results of occupying and participating in an experience, which is an experiment, which ultimately is a damn dimension. You know what I mean? These experiments are dimensions. Straight up. Experiments are dimensions. You call it a simulation. You know what I mean? These dimensions exist in dimensions, exist in dimensions, exist in dimensions. As I stated before, you was to see what Earth looked like trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of cubes folding, coming in, twisting, coming out, bending. You would say to you, it looks like a third dimensional EQ. Ever seen them digital EQs where they got all the cubes bouncing up and down because it's giving you the vibrations of the music? Imagine looking at that on a third dimensional scale, son. And but it's like you're seeing cubes. It's not like you're just seeing it like how it is on the EQ, where you just see a horizontal depiction of these cubes bouncing up and down. You know what I mean? You seeing it like on a third dimensional level, son. Just speaking the language when I say third dimension, as far as the globe is, you know what I'm saying? And you just seeing them jump down, twist and go in. It's like it's bugged the freak out, son. You'll say to yourself, how the hell am I living on that? Because you're in time and you're moving with it. You know what I mean? You're moving with the times, man. Word up, baby. The shift is taking place now. Straight up. The shift is taking place now. Planetary shift, man. the Mayan calendar, 2012. Planetary shift, man. You have people that's on the fence that's waiting to resimulate. You have people that's on a planet that didn't get nothing out of the shift but a thirst to simulate more experiences. That's all they got out of it. And you got those that shift was a freaking alarm clock. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I see clearer now, son. Beyond 2020 vision. Up. Things is clear right now. Like, what? Things make so much sense now. It's like you pick up things now. Start seeing things now. Up. A lot of things got rebooted, man. They didn't shut nothing down. Things were getting rebooted. There's new algorithms going through the matrix so people can simulate it. Straight up, B. Dev show? What dev show you talking about? Pardon me. Yo, this little month, I've been off the clock, son. Yo, bro, I needed that, son. I needed that, B. Straight up. Got some exercise in. I went in on the health harder. Went on the herb game harder. Everything is like mad stable, son. Everything is so clear. It's like this vibration that I'm in right now. I'm ready to go beyond this vibe. Word up, son. I'm ready to go beyond this vibe. Cause I already know it's more. More to it than this, B. The Dev. It was called Dev. That's what it's called, Dev Show. Hell yeah, I got out that dimensions, huh? And that cube, huh? The hell with that cube. Oh, up. The hell with that cube, huh? Straight cheese. Yo, man, get up on them herbs, do your research on them herbs, man. Yo, I be going to sleep like 2, 3, 4 in the morning, son. We up on the computer fully charged late at night, like, yo, it's mad peaceful at night, B. Being on that computer is mad peaceful, son. It's like, yo, it ain't no noise. Bunch of people driving around all over the place. Everything is just so stable, son. Stable, B. But you already know when they starting to open things back up. You already know, man. These people is on the fence, waiting to go to the bar, waiting to go to the club, waiting to go to the beach, waiting to get on a plane. They just waiting to simulate nothing. I mean, but hey, that's how it is. That's how it's supposed to be on the planet, man. How it's supposed to be, man. Gods create realities for clones. The realities the gods create, speaking the language when I say reality, the realities that the gods create are dimensions for clones. But the gods is not creating no more dimensions for these humans. And ain't no new vessels coming. Ain't no new dimensions coming for these species. Know what I mean? First, the vessels will be no longer inhabitable. And then as time goes beyond this realm, those spirits, those clone energies would fade out of existence. Straight up. But yo, man, I'm about to get up out of here, man. I don't know what it is, man. So about raising that vibe. All about raising that vibe. Been messing around on this computer, son. Messing around with these sound effects, son. Hurry up. Put together some joints. Just getting some footage and playing around with the footage and playing around with the sound. Putting together some nice little things, man. Like, yo, hell yeah. I mean, combining them sounds and all that. That sound make a difference, son. A big difference. Straight up. Hell yeah, son. Making the movie scores, son. 4 scores and 7 horrors ago. Making them movie scores. I done got them photos down packed, son. I done mastered them joints, man. Trying to take it to the next level now. I went back to some old photos because I had learned some new-ish. Applied it to them old photos. Them joints came out banging. Like, damn, banging, son. Like, I be looking at certain people, like they got certain people on Instagram, son. Like these people I already know what it is, son. But let me step inside the box for a second, son. And these people is like they got mad followers. I think they be buying their followers, but who cares? You know, they got mad followers, and it's like I would look at some of their pictures, and their pictures be trash, yo. I'm like, the freak? And you look at them joints, and they be getting like dumb likes on them joints. I'm like, what the hell? It's just garbage, man. I'm over there talking trash now. So like, this is just trash, son. You know what I mean? I look at my joint, I'm like, man, my joint. But you know how it is when you create something. You be like, yo, your joint is on another level. But man, a lot of these pictures out there, son, on the gram, son. My joint is ishing on them by a landslide, son. You know what I mean? You know, Instagram algorithm just got me tucked in the corner somewhere. So I'm like, don't pay attention to this guy, please. You know what I'm saying? Just leave him tucked in the corner, son. You know what I mean? But it is what the hell it is, son. As long as I know I could do some damage, that's all that matters, son. You know what I mean? As long as I know I could do some damage, I could make something happen with the imagery. That's all that matters, B. You know what I mean? As long as I know I can make something happen with them videos, I'm doing 8K now, son. I just remastered a video I did 8K. I mean, that video was already looking bananas. You know what I mean? I was like, yo, let me remaster this joint. Took me like probably like 7 hours, man. 6-7 hours, bruh. Going in the guts. Remastered that joint 8K. I threw that joint up on the big screen. I'm like, yo, this joint look mad crisp. It was already looking crisp before something. Now, it's even more crisp. I'm like, damn. I'm about to start doing these videos in 8K because ain't nobody. I didn't even know that YouTube could take 8K. I didn't even know that, son. I didn't even know because I'm like, when the hell is YouTube gonna be able to take 8K? Because 8K is not really out there like that, son. But it's good to get, jump on things early. You know what I mean? So it's like they got a few good 8K TVs out there. You know what I mean? So it's like 8K is like, it's still in the baby stage. Even though it's out there in a while, it's still in the baby stages. Nobody really knows about 8K. Ain't nobody really thinking about 8K. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, when the hell is YouTube going to be able to do this 8K joint, son? And I came across something that it was like YouTube do 8K, but you got to have the bandwidth. You got to have that internet speed in order to give you the ability to get that resolution. And you actually got to have a screen. You got to have a screen that can actually show 8K. But it doesn't matter if you got like a 1080p TV or 4K TV or even a 2K TV and you put an 8K image on that, you're not going to see exactly what it looked like, but it's going to look better than what you would normally be seeing because there's so much pixels in a compressed image, a compressed size of the screen that is going to look better, son. You know what I'm saying? But YouTube got 8K, son. So I'm like, I'm about to start doing these videos in 8K. That joint take hella long. You know what I mean? To render them joints. But you know what I mean? The finished product though is worth it, son. You up there, you get your 8K catalog, son. You know what I mean? Up on the 8K wagon right now, son. So I'm 8K in it. Dealing with billions of pixels. Yo, my joint be spinning fast, son. I be overworking my joint. I'm like, pushing them pixels, man. I gotta upgrade. Heard up, man. They're supposed to be having these graphics cards coming out later on this year. I'm gonna see what's up with them joints, man. I'm gonna see what they talking about. Cause I still ain't even get the processor I was supposed to get, man. I fell back on that. I gotta get that. Gotta upgrade that processor and that graphics card, son. I know when I do that, that fan better not come on full speed. I don't want to hear none of that. Heard up. Straight up, man. Let's go, man. I don't think this run in my mouth, man. About to get up out of here, man. I already know what it is, man. I already know what it is. It's all about raising the vibe, son. You got to go beyond perception, son. When you raising the vibe, man, you got to know senses, perception, all of that is part of a human consciousness, which is nothing but a damn reservoir for programs. You know what I mean? That's what consciousness is. It's like a reservoir for programs, for humans to simulate. You got to be able to go past perception. You got to be able to go beyond how you perceive this realm, son. The only way you're going to be able to identify this how it's supposed to be identified is if you go beyond. You got to go beyond. You know what I mean? Go beyond. Go beyond the senses. Go beyond those 5 senses. You know what I mean? Which is another illusion like Jesus Christ. Because the reality is carbonated beings don't have 5 senses. We beyond senses. You know what I mean? We have a solar neuron network in the vessel. You know what I mean? And based upon what dimension you're in, or what dimension you allow yourself to be in, you will be subjective to how many senses is available in that realm or in that dimension. You know what I mean? I'll give you a practical example. When you see people go underwater, they're not using all of their senses. Why? Because they got to hold their breath. So they're not using that sense breathing, and they cannot hear things how they normally supposed to hear things. So they're not using the sense of hearing. You know what I'm saying? So based upon them being in that dimension, or them allowing themselves to be in that dimension, they now limit their senses to that dimension. The senses has been grafted by the experimenter. You know what I'm saying? The one who created that dimension. Your sense, you just acquired a mental configured perception cap. So now your senses is limited in the realm of the underwater realm. So now when you come up in this realm, this dimension, should I say, that we're walking around in. They telling you that you only got five senses. This realm allows, only allows five senses to function in it. You know what I'm saying? But if you are able to go beyond this dimension, you will see that more senses, for lack of a better word, exists because we, as the God race, adapt to our environment. You know what I'm saying? We have a solar neuronical, or should I say, yeah, a solar neuronical etherical network. You know what I'm saying? Which is what they would call senses. But based upon your perception or the dimension that you're in, you now limit your capabilities sensory wise based on that dimensional terms and conditions. You know what I mean? So that whole five sense, as I stated before, common sense. They talk about everybody got common sense. No, clones got common sense. And common sense is five senses. It's not like what they try to make it seem, well, that's something you should know. That's common sense. You know, like, well, you know, you got to turn the knob to open the door. That's common sense. No, common sense is primitive sensory network, which equals primitive deciphering capabilities, analytical capabilities. In other words, your perception has already been perceived before you even conceived it. Straight up. It's not even yours. You're using somebody else's algorithm, fronting like it's you. But you know, man, I'm about to get up out of here, man. Y'all already know what it is, man. Raise the vibe, raise the vibe, raise the vibe, raise the vibe.